Good afternoon and welcome to Joy News today with me, Benis Abu Baidu. Coming up, the Government and Hospital Pharmacist Association bent on continuing a strike to press home their demand from government. 2016-2017 academic year for public basic schools begins today amid the numerous infrastructural challenges hampering the smooth flow of academic work in some basic schools. And the Electoral Commission justifies the recently announced filing fees for presidential and parliamentary aspirants in the 2016 general elections. The details of these stories, including business, sports, international and entertainment news, coming up shortly. Please stay on. Thanks for your company. In our first story, patients visiting public hospitals for medical care are still struggling to have access to drugs prescribed for their treatment. This is because pharmacies working at these government hospitals have remained shut to the patients for exactly 1 week. The Government and Public Hospital Pharmacist Association are on an indefinite strike until government addresses concerns relating to their market premium following their migration onto the single spine salary pay policy. My colleague Matilda Wamega has been attending a press conference by the striking pharmacists and joins me on the phone with more. Hello Matilda, good afternoon.
Hello Bennett.
What else is gospel saying apart from what we already know?
Okay, so Bennett, to address their concerns, which is issue the gap. Then they will find for the impact on that action. But before that, they are so hoping that government will consider the decision and then start the process with them. But for them, nothing will move them to go back to their workplace, because they are done with this reassurance is coming from them. Something about the fight. But being joined by
we do apologize for the bad lines. We'll bring Tilly back later. My colleague Matilda Wamega, who has been at a press conference organized by GOSPA. The 2016-2017 academic calendar for basic schools in the public sector begins today. All over the country, a good number of these schools will receive new enrollments to fill vacancies, while parents, teachers and pupils organize themselves in apparent readiness for the new academic year. Issues pertaining to lack of teaching and learning materials at these public schools remains a challenge. From poor or non-existent classroom blocks, overcrowding, lack of textbooks, lack of furniture and inadequate teachers are just but a few of the challenges that continuously hamper a smooth academic calendar in some of these schools nationwide. Let's go on to the phone and speak to my colleague Richard Kodrinyako, who has been following the Minister of Education around some basic schools in the central region on their first day at school. Hello Richard.
Hi.
Good afternoon. What has what has her impressions been so far at the schools she's visited?
Well, the minister has been to Jokwa DA school. He went to Atresi DA school, and she went to the Atuska school. Now we are at Commander, and that is where the minister is rounding up. What her impressions are that he's seen that a lot of the teachers did not report to duty when school reopened, and she says that it is very critical for teachers to go to school to set a good example to the students, in the sense that when school reopens, the teachers are there, and it will also motivate the students to also come to school on that particular day so that academic activities can go on. He applauded the authorities in the region for uplifting the standard of education. According to her, the standard is gradually rising. Hitherto, it wasn't like that. And this time, she went to some of the schools and she realized that some of the things were being done very on the right path, and so she commended them. And so that is what the minister has been saying, and she is cautioning teachers they risk being punished severely if they keep on absenting themselves from school.
Well, you've spoken about what the minister has been saying, but has any head of these schools that she's visited raised any concerns?
Well, these concerns have not come up yet because some of the schools, some of the heads had not even reported, and they, at 10 o'clock, some of them had come and they were now sweeping the campuses and all of that. So the minister distributed some teaching, learning materials, some pens, pencils, books, and other things to them. But there were no concerns that were raised by these head teachers.
Thank you very much. That was my colleague Richard Kojunyako speak, and he's with the Minister of Education, Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman. And the minister, she has been touring some schools in the central region, and he's been following her. Let's go back to that conversation with my colleague Matilda Wemega, who has been attending a press conference by the striking pharmacist, and she's joined us back on the phone. Matilda. Hello, Matilda. Well, we've lost her again. Apologies for that. Now let's go back to the issue of education. The Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana say they will continue to stay away from their duties until government gives in to their demands. CTAC began an indefinite strike on Monday, September 12, to press on their demand for government to migrate the tutors of colleges of education to a tertiary status. According to the association, although colleges of education were classified as tertiary institutions under Act 2012, Act 847, the rank of tutors was yet to reflect that change in the status of the colleges. The group maintains they will not back down on their calls for a proper representation till government meets its demand. Patrick Entries, Public Relations Officer for Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana, will be talking to him shortly about how this issue affects them. You're watching Joy News today. My name is Bernice Abubedu. We'll be back after this. Please don't go away. Thanks for staying on Joy News today with me, Bernice Abubedu. The Government and Public Hospital Pharmacists Association are on an indefinite strike until government addresses concerns relating to their market premium following their migration onto the single spine salary pay policy. My colleague Matilda Wemega has been attending a press conference by the striking pharmacist and joins me on the phone with more. Matilda, good afternoon, and what else has GOSPA been saying?
So according to GOSPA, they are giving themselves a 10-day period where they are hoping that the government will address their concerns. And after this 10-day grace period, that is when they will intensify their strike action. But I'm being joined by the national chairman of GOSPA, that's Mr. Ajman Bedu, who is going to tell me. So, Mr. Ajman Bedu, thanks for joining us on Joy News. What exactly will make you return to your work?
Well, thank you, and thank you to your good afternoon to your listeners. We, at the beginning of the strike, we set ourselves two endpoints. The first one is when we have been given a clear-cut commitment from government that the recommendations of the Cabinet Subcommittee, which gave us 114% as our interim market premium, is complied. That is the first endpoint. The second endpoint, which will compel us as leaders to convince our members to return to work, will be the implementation of the National Labour Commission's ruling, awarded us in 2013, which placed us at 18H as the entry grade point, and the grade to be cascaded accordingly.
Okay, not to cut you in, but we've heard the Honourable Minister for Employment and Labour Relations say that yes, you have some concern with this issue of your market premium, but they are saying that that hasn't been budgeted for, so you should return to work, and then they will address these concerns later. What is your reaction to this?
We will have readily backed off. But the point is that we have gone through this cycle again. In the heat of the strike, they will tell you, go back to work, let's negotiate. Go back to work, let's negotiate. Once you call it off, then that's it. We are saying that there should be a formal engagement with us, and government must show commitment that those two references I made earlier, the National Labour Commission's ruling in 2013, and also the Cabinet Subcommittee recommendations in 2014, are fully complied with. They will know the modalities of payment and all. But as it stands now, we have not been engaged formally.
And you have given yourself a 10 days ultimatum where you're saying that you're going to intensify the strike. What exactly are these measures you'll be rolling out?
Yes, we know that for some of our members, they are giving some critical services at emergencies and all that. But from the 10 days, if you don't hear anything from government, we are going to activate another phase where it's going to be total withdrawal of all services. In addition to that, we have other arsenals up our sleeves we don't want to give to the public now.
All right.
But on all this, we must say that it's very regrettable. It's unfortunate. The patients are not our target. Patients are not our target, but we believe that there should be finality to this issue so that our patients will also be taken care of.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mr. Ajiman Bedu. He is the national chairman for GOSPA, and he's saying that after this 10-day period that is given government, if they do not hear anything positive from government, they are going to intensify the strike action, which involves a complete withdrawal of service. That involves emergency services and inpatients as well. So, Bennett, I've been speaking with Ajiman Bedu, the national chairman of GOSPA.
Thank you very much, Matilda Wemega. Will be following the story keenly and bring you some updates. On to some election-related stories. The Electoral Commission has mounted a strong defense on the Commission's decision to charge 50,000 cedis as filing fees for presidential candidates and 10,000 cedis for parliamentary candidates. Following the announcement of the new fees last week, some parties described the amount as exorbitant and a move meant to prevent some parties from partaking in this year's polls. Defending the Commission's decision, Director of Communications Eric Japasu said the Commission acted within the law.
What all that the Commission is doing is in conformity with the law. Okay, when you take Regulation 8 of the CI 94, it says that the Electoral Commission shall determine a fee to be filed by presidential and parliamentary candidates, and that is the function we have performed by setting up the fee. Right now, when you move on to Regulation 45, it says that at the end of the poll, when we count all the ballots, okay, for a presidential candidate, if you're able to garner 25% of the valid votes in the country, you come for your money. In any case, it's a deposit. Okay, if you make 25% of the valid vote, you come for your money. At the parliamentary level, if you're able to make 12.5%, you come for your money. So if this is what you mean by a performance task, then the performance task, as you call it, has been set by the law, as captured in CI 94 Regulation 45. And those who will not be able to make the target, okay, they forfeit the money, but the money doesn't come into the coffers of the Electoral Commission. It goes into the National Consolidated Fund. I don't get it, because the law says if you're able to perform and you make up this target, you come for your money. Okay, if you're able to make 25% in terms of the presidential, you come for it. The parliamentary, if you make 12.5%, you come for it. So if you say the Commission is interested, we are interested just to ensure the compliance with the law. No, far from that, the Electoral Commission is mandated to strengthen the country's democracy, to open up the space, okay, allow political parties, allow individual candidates, and give the opportunity to registered voters to exercise their franchise. So in the performance of the functions of the Commission cannot in any way deliberately try to stifle political parties and, as it were, prevent them from maturing and being vibrant. Yeah, that is an opinion coming from a candidate. It is respected, it is welcomed, but this is the decision of the commission, and this is what the law says, and this is what we are doing. Okay, mind you, having said that, at the IPAC meeting, when this issue was tabled, the parties raised their concerns. Okay, when the parties raised their concerns, a lot of them spoke. Commission said, yes, your concerns are well noted. We will communicate back to you. If you review it, whichever way we do, you hear from us. Otherwise, the decision remains. What the commission said is that all concerns have been taken on board. One, okay, we're going to see whether there will be the possibility of a review. If we review, whichever way we arrive at, it will be communicated to you. So these are policy decisions to be made by the commission, and once the commission makes it, I'll duly communicate it to you and the general Ghanaian public.
Mr. Jakpasu also said the commission will not call for more tenders following a failure of 3 companies shortlisted to meet the criteria. The commission had invited tenders with the hope of selecting a company to undertake electronic transmission of results from the polling stations.
It's a tendering process. It goes to the demonstration as part of the evaluation. There is an evaluation panel in place. Criterion was given to the various companies. In fact, 2 companies were shortlisted to come and do the demo. Okay, so the criterion was there: technical, administrative, security, and then scope of the project was given to them. At the end of the demonstration and as part of the evaluation process, the evaluation panel recommended that none of the companies met the technical and administrative criteria. And the way they presented it would even require a revision of the scope of the project. So based on the recommendations of the evaluation panel, the Electoral Commission decided to terminate the contract. So as it is, contract has not been awarded, and therefore the project cannot be rolled. It's a technical thing, okay, and I'm not a technical person, okay, but these were the technical criteria given, administrative criteria, all these things were given, and this from the evaluation panel endorsed by the commission. No, we are not using the electronic results transmission as we intended to use it, but the Electoral Commission itself has a modest transmission system, collation and transmission system, which we have tested in about 4 by-elections. We're talking about Talensi, we are talking about Abuakwa North, Wasa Memfi, and recently at Abetifi. That is what we're going to find. We're talking about having a lab system.
Away from election-related stories to our story about the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana saying they'll continue to stay away from their duties until government gives in to their demands. CTAC began an indefinite strike on Monday, September 12, to press home their demand for government to migrate the tutors of colleges of education to a tertiary status. According to the association, although colleges of education were classified as tertiary institutions under Act 2012, Act 847, the rank of tutors was yet to reflect that change in the status of the colleges. The group maintains they will not back down on their calls for a proper representation till government meets its demands. Patrick Entry is Public Relations Officer for Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana. The group directly being affected by this strike because its teachers is embarking on the protest. Well, I'm told we've lost Patrick on the line. We'll raise him back on the line shortly. Meanwhile, Labour expert Austin Gomez calling on the feuding parties to come to a compromise to find a solution to the current problem. He was speaking on Joy News Interactive.
Definitely, and to be honest with you, this do not in any way speed up the process. It rather delays the process. You see, there is supposed to be ground rules that should govern this negotiation business. It's not properly fashioned out by the parties right from the beginning as to if we embark upon the negotiation, to what extent do we share information, and should we hit a roadblock in the midst of the negotiation, what do we do next? this process is a continuum. You have to continue from negotiation to mediation to arbitration, which is supposed to be a finality. If you go get to arbitration, the result is final and binding on both parties, and that is it. Unfortunately, we are not used to the maturity level in negotiating in Ghana is extremely very low. And so people embark upon this strikes as a way of pressurizing the other party to enable them get what they want to get or win some kind of sympathy from the public. And traditionally, Ghanaians turn out to support people who begin to strike first. I think that what can be done is for both parties to make an effort. And I think, let me be very open to you, I've made an effort to, knowing that people can easily fall into the trap of the strike. I have written to both parties. I have called them on phone, especially the workers, because I think they are the vulnerable side. That if they are willing and they don't have the expertise, I'm willing to sit between the two parties to guide them into a successful conversation.
Away from labor issues, the African Court on Human and People's Rights says it is wrong for journalists accused of defamation to be made to serve custodial sentences. The court says this will curtail freedom of expression and will deter journalists from doing their work. Immediate past president of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Augustino Ramadani, says journalists who defame others can be criminalized, but punishments other than custodial sentences must be applied. Immediate past president of the African Court on Human and People's Rights, Augustino Ramadani, was speaking at a seminar underway in Arusha, Tanzania, on strengthening judiciary systems and African courts to protect safety of journalists and end impunity. The seminar is in preparation towards the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists, which would be held worldwide on 2nd November. Justice Ramadani also condemned the practice where perpetrators of crime against journalists go unpunished.
It is imperative that we take deliberate steps to end impunity with a shared vision to support the expedition of commitments made to ensure the effective domestication and implementation of the agreed legal and policy measures. This will include the establishment of protection mechanisms with early warning and rapid response systems for journalists and media workers. In particular, also working with the judiciary to ensure impartial, timely, thorough, independent and effective investigations so that victims have increased access to suitable and effective remedies. Among all actors, the judiciary plays an exceptional role in this novel cause.
Speaking at the same program, head of UNESCO Dar es Salaam office, Zomeira Rodriguez, called for more protection for journalists, with more than 700 journalists killed within the last decade and 103 coming from Africa. Mr. Rodriguez also called on the judiciary to do more to ensure the safety of journalists. My colleague Seth Kwame Boateng is one of the about 50 top journalists from across the continent who attended this program in Tanzania. He's joined me in studio to tell us about the experience. Hello, Seth. You're welcome.
Thank you.
How's Tanzania?
Oh, cool place. Very cold.
All right. Okay. not as it is in Ghana.
No, not at all.
But briefly tell us, first, what prompted this conversation?
You know, the African Court has been around for 10 years, but we didn't know much about that very court and what they've been doing for the past 10 years. So they decided to select top journalists from the continent to go there and see the work they were doing over there and also spread the word about the activities of the court. That was the reason they selected about 50 journalists from the continent to be there and see how the court operates, the kind of cases they adjudicate and all the other things about the court.
So apart from this issue about journalists who defame others and whether or not they should serve custodial sentences, which other issues came up?
So about human rights and the people who can go to the court with their issues. So basically they are saying all Africans can petition the court anytime they have any issue. but you must exhaust all procedures in your country. For example, if you want, before you come to the court and you are from Ghana, your case should have gone to the Supreme Court. You should have exhausted all avenues or to get redress. If that didn't work, then you have the right to petition the court for them to investigate. You don't pay anything when you go to that court. And they are also interested in the affairs of journalists, because they said that a number of journalists have been killed on the continent, and it's about time we stop that. So they are doing their best to ensure that journalists have a free mind to work. They will not be scared of anything. And if you think that you have any issue in your country, you have to report to the court. But first, the country should have been part of the African Court and should have ratified the Convention on the African Court. If you've done that, then you have every right to go to the court for them to hear your case. Now they have over 100 cases before that court that they are hearing to rule on.
No, right. So apart from all that went on, how was the experience meeting other journalists from part of the continent?
It was humbling, and I got to know that Ghana, freedom of expression and freedom of speech works in Ghana. I'm telling you, if you hear stories of other journalists, you may ask yourself, oh, then I'm better off. We sit here and we complain all the time. Some can't even criticize their government. But here we are, we have the right to do that. So I think we are blessed as a country, and we must do more to also help promote human rights in this country.
Thank you very much, Seth Kwame Boateng. That was my colleague, Seth Kwame Boateng, briefing us on that particular African Court on Human and People's Rights, saying that it is wrong for journalists accused of defamation to be made to serve custodial sentences. And they organized this forum with about 50 top journalists from the continent. You're watching Joy News today with me, Ben Esabubedu. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you some business stories.
Hello again, good afternoon and welcome to Business. The cost of the recent 5-year Euro bond is very expensive looking at current developments on the international market. That's the view of an economist, Dr. Eric Osei-Sibi. Government last Friday raised $750 million from investors with an interest of 9.25%. This will translate into about $70 million payment every year. The cost is, however, lower than the 15-year bond raised last year. The bond was oversubscribed by some 400%, with $4 billion worth of bids from investors. Dr. Eric Osei-Sibi tells Joy Business there is no way government can justify this cost, citing current developments on the global markets.
You are offering 9.25 at this time where the global economy is so down and the investors are looking for anything to buy. You should have taken advantage of that and to even beat it down. In actual fact, it would have been higher. That's the interest rate. But because of the oversubscription, the government was able to beat it down to the 9.25. But my disappointment with the term to maturity, which is 5 years. I mean, at this time, 5 years is just too low. I mean, you could have asked for 10 years, because going for 5 years, then you should have gone in for a lower interest, because what it means is that the effective interest rates, okay, the real interest rate, the interest rate that you pay over a period of time, when you discount the streams of payments that you do over the 5 years, if you discount it to the present, that is taking the net present value, you realize that it's much higher. So you are indeed paying high compared to the 10.75 that you paid for 15 years. This one, in my view, or by calculation, is higher.
Now, the Bank of Ghana is taking steps to ensure that only licensed microfinance institutions are allowed to operate. The regulator, to this end, has released a list of non-bank financial institutions, which includes microfinance institutions that could be described as credible and in good standing with the central bank. George Yafi has the rest of the story.
The notice shows that as of July this year, there are 435 non-bank financial institutions that are in good standing with the regulator and have met all the necessary conditions to operate and even take funds from the public. Non-bank financial institutions can be described as all those financial institutions operating in the country that are not licensed as commercial or universal banks. Out of the 435, 385 of the institutions are microfinance companies, 60 are money lending companies, whilst the remaining 10 are financial NGOs. The regulator argues that putting out the list can help weed out bad institutions and also empower the public to know which institution to deal with in order to ensure that their funds are safe, and also compel those who are not in good standing to formalize their opposition with the Bank of Ghana.
That's all in business. Get more business news updates at 1 p.m. on the marketplace. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafi. Good afternoon.
Thanks for staying on Joy News today with me, Benis Abu Bedu. That'll be it for this edition. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Your comprehensive business program, The Marketplace, is up next. Do have a great afternoon.